We are The Point, a church that loves God, loves people, and loves life. If you are interested in learning more about us, please go to our website, thepointva.com. Thanks for listening.
Welcome and thanks for joining us today on this New Year's Eve for our special online service here at The Point. Today I'm here with some of our staff, and we're going to talk about just how great this year has been and things that are coming up in 2018. So before we even get going, just want to share with you that we will continue meeting next week at Monticello High School at our usual time of 9:30 and 11. And today, as you're watching this, be sure to share it on Facebook. And download our app if you haven't ever downloaded it before. You can watch all of this year's messages. It's just been an incredible year here, and we don't want you to miss anything. You can also give at thepointva.com or through our app. And so with all that, we're going to get just right into to talking with our staff here today. So you're going to be hearing from our different staff members, and we're going to start this morning with Amber over there. And I just want to get things rolling here today. I want to ask each of you this question. What was the highlight of 2017 for you here at The Point? And we'll start with you, Amber. Amber's our director of ministry, so let's get rolling here.
So my highlight this year took place when I was in Cuba with a team from The Point, and it was really an amazing week of ministry. But my favorite part of the week was the time we had as a team together each morning, particularly the last morning that we were there. We sat around a table and we were eating breakfast and we were sharing about what God had done that week, and seeing how God was using our people to impact the people of Cuba and the church in Cuba, but also to see how when we open up and allow God to use us, how much it ministers to us and how we can grow together as teams. And I remember one person on the team saying, you know, over this last week, I've probably grown more than I would have in a year. Like, God just really used this as a catalyst, and seeing that life change was really amazing for me, and it was a highlight.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Amber, while I've got you right here and you got that mic, let's talk for a minute about missions. Why don't you tell us a little bit about like what The Point is doing internationally, and then how people can get involved.
Yeah, so as a church, we have a big vision, which is to have a presence in 50 countries by our 50th year as a church. So right now, we're partnering in the countries of Cuba, Guatemala, and the Philippines. We're sending teams there. And in 2018, we're going to be adding the country of Nicaragua and also the country of Liberia. So it's exciting, and God's expanding what we're doing. And I really believe this is a special partnership with every place around the world that we're partnering with, but also it's an awesome opportunity for us to grow together, as I was talking about that team in Cuba. So I would encourage you to pray about going on a trip in 2018 or even in 2019. And so if you're interested, you can see more about our trips online at thepointva.com/reach countries, or you can visit the Reach table on Sunday morning, and they'd love to talk with you.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing that, Amber. Let me ask Tim the same question this morning. You're 2017. Tim is our next gen pastor. So tell us a little bit about your highlight this year in 2017.
Yeah, my highlight from 2017 was a simple conversation. It was probably a 30-second conversation that I had with a child on a Sunday morning. Obviously, it represents more than just that conversation. But what happened was, it was right before one of our services. A child came up to me and handed me a card. And so I opened up the card, and it was basically a thank you card. Thank you for, I think the inside of it said, thank you for teaching us about Jesus. And so as I opened that and read through that, it clicked why I was receiving this card, because we get thank you cards every so often. And so to me, this was more than just a typical thank you card, because what most people might not know is that in Kids Point, that particular month, we were talking about gratitude. Gratitude was our theme for the month. And we were talking about expressing our thankfulness. Gratitude is having a thankful attitude, is what we were communicating. And so all month long, we were just hitting that point. And so when this child handed me that card, I'm realizing that he's not just expressing gratitude. He's taking what we're teaching on a Sunday morning and putting it into practice. And to me, that's a huge win. And it's a testimony to our volunteers and our leaders and our teachers and all of the Next Gen volunteers who pour out so much on a Sunday morning. And it points to the fact that what we do on a Sunday morning is about so much more than just that Sunday morning. It carries on throughout the week and in the home and family discipleship, and seeing parents come alongside their kids and encourage them to do things like writing these thank you cards and putting these things into practice is just huge. So that was a huge highlight for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love what we do in Kids Point. I think it's just such a valuable thing. And as a father, it's so cool to me to see even like having a 3-year-old, like what he soaks up. you don't always think like, you know, your 2-year-old or 3-year-old is actually able to like really comprehend like what's going on. But whenever my son comes home on Sundays and is sharing things that he learned in Kids Point, it's amazing that like, you know, I feel like it's really easy for, especially for that age group, to just babysit rather than actually engage. So can you share a little bit about like what you guys do for the different age groups in Kids Point? I mean, you guys are pretty intentional, right? About what you're teaching in Kids Point.
We are, yeah, absolutely. From the time they're born all the way up through 5th grade and then on into student life as well. We're very intentional with the time that we have, and really what we're teaching, what we're communicating. And so we have a family discipleship plan where each age group is focusing on a particular element or principle. And so for the pre-K age, basically from 2 years old, we're really 1 year old starting next year, and on up to the highest pre-K level, we're talking about who God is. Who is God? And every month we're talking about a theme of that plays into that. In the elementary group, we're focusing on the gospel. What is the gospel? Who is Jesus? What did Jesus do? And really kind of hitting on a lot of the principles there. And so we're very intentional with every age group, and we also have a specific format for every age group. Every service for each age group has a small group setting, a large group setting that includes worship, offering, and we also have like application activities, crafts, games that they play, things that they can put into practice. The leaders will pray with the students. We'll really kind of meet the kids where they are to say, hey, how did your week go? Let's follow up from last week. How did that thing go? And it's been really cool to see the relationships that have developed over time and just the connection that the leaders have with them.
And you were saying that you have that like pre-K through all the way through 5th grade. Like, I mean, you talked about all ages, and so there's something even for like a 5th grader who's getting ready to enter into junior high in a year, like they have something relevant for them too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so like if you were sharing with parents like a compelling reason to come to Kids Point or bring your kids to Kids Point, like what would you tell them?
Man, if that's not a compelling reason, I don't know what is.
Yeah, I know it's a hard question to summarize in one sentence, but like, what would you tell our parents who are watching this morning that maybe have never brought their kids to Kids Point or are considering even like, I mean, we know that some of you may be just watching online, you've never even come to the point. Like, what's the compelling reason to come to bring your kids to Kids Point?
Yeah, I think the compelling reason, I think what sets us apart from other churches or just what everyone else is doing, especially here in Charlottesville, is the fact that we're partnering with parents. And we're specific, like our approach to everything we do in ministry is about equipping parents and leaders and people who are pouring into these kids, because it's more than just what we teach on a Sunday morning. It's more than just information being communicated from a stage. This is something that changes lives. And we realize that all the way down to, like, as young as they're able to comprehend that, like, we want to start communicating that, and we want them to get it. We want that light bulb to go on. And so we do everything we can to equip our leaders, our volunteers. We give them the curriculum in advance to say, hey, here's what we're going through on a Sunday morning.
So there's a lot of preparation that goes into Kids Point. People aren't, your volunteers aren't just showing up and, like, watching the kids for an hour.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a team that works hard in the office every week, every month, and we prepare the curriculum months in advance to say, here's what the morning's going to look like, here's the activities, here's the content.
I want to apologize to the rest of the staff, too. I'm talking to Tim a lot. But I have one more question for you. Okay. You mentioned this family discipleship plan. Yes. I heard you mention that a minute ago. Now, because as you said, you also said that, like, it doesn't just end on a Sunday morning. Can you share with us, like, what a family discipleship plan, what that means, what that looks like?
Yeah, we here at the Point, we hold very strongly to Deuteronomy 6, which kind of it communicates to us how we should raise our children. And as we're raising the next generation, we take it upon ourselves to equip families. And so that's why we call it family discipleship, because we feel like discipleship happens the most at home. It's able to be the most effective in the home. And so parents and families, like, we're partnering with these adults who are pouring into the kids because that's who they have the most time with. You know, we get them for an hour or two on a Sunday morning, but everything happens, most happens at home.
So you're providing parents even with, like, something they can take home to take their children through. Yeah.
Every month we have a parent resource for every age group that we send home with the parents every week to say, here's what we talked about, here's what you can do at home to continue that conversation, awesome. And here's some ideas. So,
that's awesome. Yeah, so thanks for sharing all that, Tim. And again, thank you guys for letting me talk to Tim for 5 minutes there. That's awesome. While we're on the topic of Next Gen, let's talk to Caleb for a minute or two. Caleb is our student life director. So he works with our teenagers, middle school and high school. So Caleb, what was your highlight of 2017?
Man, 2017 was a packed year. So many things happened, so many good things. But I think if I was to trace it back to a single highlight, I would have to say we did a series back in November called Real Life in Student Life. And basically it was born out of a burden that I believe God gave to me to speak life, to speak truth into cultural issues, tough cultural issues. We covered depression, lust and purity, things like that. And I remember the beginning night on our first Wednesday service, I invited some of the staff, Dave, you were there, and Tim, and Amber, and Pastor Gabe, and they all came down for a question and answer session, sort of a panel of sorts. And so students submitted questions, and it was free reign. They could say whatever they wanted to say. And to experience the life change and the truth that night was insane. You'd had to have been there to experience it, but asking those questions and receiving those answers, that wisdom, that godly wisdom, was just such a blessing for the students. And I think even beyond that, my favorite part of it was it didn't stop that night. Our amazing student life leader team, they sort of rallied together, and all the honest questions that the students were bringing, the tough, like nitty-gritty, really difficult questions that they're asking, the leaders just handled those like champs. They pointed the students to Scripture. They pointed them to wisdom that they have in their own lives, experience, all that. And it was a crazy time for growth, I think.
Yeah, that night was awesome. I mean, I was just honored even to be here for it. And I almost wish that like every student in the county could have been in the room that night,
That'd have been awesome.
because they're asking questions that are like very like legit, like hard questions. And I mean, I know the four of us on this platform that night, we did our best, but man, like they're not easy answers. No. And you know, our student life program, I'm just so thankful for what you do with it, and also like just for the vision that even the Point overall has for students, because whenever I was a teenager, we had issues. You know, we had social issues going on, and we had problems and things. And there's nothing new under the sun. So like everybody experiences those. But I feel like today they are getting hammered from every angle about their identity and about like who they're supposed to be and what the future has for them and the instability maybe ahead of them. And it seems like that if now I have small children, but if I had a student in middle school or high school, I would be like running to get them to student life, knowing that you guys are actually addressing this stuff, and you're not just like letting their questions go unanswered. I mean, it's one thing to just prepare a curriculum and never get what they're wondering as well, but I appreciate so much the time that you and the volunteers and the team in Student Life take to really like figure out where they are and meet them there.
I mean, the truth of it is they're going to hear it no matter what, right? And what better place to talk about it than church?
Absolutely. That's very well said. So I ask you the same question I asked Tim. Like if you're talking to some parents about student life and like maybe why they should get their students involved, or maybe there's some students watching this morning, why come to Student Life?
Yeah, you know, we have a ton of fun. We do a lot of enjoy, just a lot of good stuff. Go on trips and things like that. But ultimately, Student Life is the best place to learn about who you are in Christ and how to actively live out your faith.
Yeah, well, that's like you guys may have to rewind and listen to that again, because that was very, very profound and well said. Let me ask you this while we're on the topic of Student Life. Tell us a little bit about like what the programming looks like. I know we have an environment on Sundays, we have home groups, we have a First Wednesday. Talk a little bit about like what that looks like to get involved in Student Life.
Yeah, so it really starts with First Wednesday. So every first Wednesday of the month, we sort of begin our series content. So for the rest of that month, we'll be talking about what we talk about.
Is this for
Yes, it's for middle school through high school, 6th grade through 12th grade. And so we have we have it here at the Point office. We do a lot of games. We do some worship led by our student band. It's a really good time. It's a great night to bring your friends. And out of that, we sort of go into two avenues. So for our middle school students, 6th through 8th grade, we meet on Sunday mornings in the gym at Monticello for both services. And essentially, it looks like we have some games and stuff up front, but I do a teaching, or a leader does a teaching that correlates to our series content. And then out of that, our leaders break into small groups. And so it's broken up by age and gender. And so we talk and we have honest conversations. It's a great time. And then throughout the week, the high schoolers meet with their leaders in their homes. And so they've got an intimate environment in their home where they can talk about whatever they want to talk about. Each group looks different, but they all talk about what we're going through for the series, and then just personal things that they're going through. They really, honestly, like embody the idea of doing life together, what community looks like.
That's awesome. So if you are a parent or you're a student, be sure to check out Student Life, first Wednesdays every month. It's here in Charlottesville at our office, and you can find all that information at thepointva.com. And then that flows into Sundays and home groups. And yeah, Caleb, just thank you for what you're doing, and to the team and the volunteers, man, you guys are just killing it. It's awesome.
Absolutely.
So while we're talking about even just some programming, I'm going to hand it over to Zach. He's our creative arts pastor, and so what Zach oversees basically everything that you see. So like even this right here right now, this is his world and his team, and the experience on Sunday mornings in the auditorium with the sound, lights, video production, everything that you see on a Sunday or online goes through your world. So you probably have so much diversity in what could be the highlight of your year. But why don't you share with us what in 2017 was the highlight of your year?
Yeah, 2017 was a really big year. It's really hard to nail down one specific highlight because I can think of dozens. Between the facility news and everything else that we've been praying for since the beginning. But I think for me, one of the biggest highlights that I had this year was we had a Sunday morning where there are two girls who serve on our production team, and they both work together at a vet clinic here in town, and they were ministering to a friend that they work with for a while, and that friend has just been having a rough week, and she told them, like, hey, is your church still meeting this Sunday? Can I come check it out? And they were super excited to obviously have her come and visit. So, unfortunately, they were both serving that same morning in a capacity where they weren't able to sit in the service with her and keep her company and things and make her feel comfortable. But the rest of our team caught wind of that. They found out about that, and they said, oh, no, we're taking care of that. So they backfilled their roles on Sunday morning. They said, no, you go sit with her. You go spend time with her and minister to her more. We'll take care of the cameras and the whatever else. So to me, that was just such a big deal, because what it showed was that the value for what they do when they serve isn't just this big picture, ambiguous type of thing where we're providing content for 1,000 people to watch online and all that. They valued the individual so much.
That's really good.
Yeah.
So, you're speaking really about community on a team. Why don't you talk for a minute? Because Zach, you've been involved with The Point since the first year of The Point. I mean, you've seen every phase we've gone through over the past 8 years. And so why don't you share for a minute about what kind of community happens in volunteer teams?
Yeah, I say this to people all the time, but community, a lot of people don't get to know each other face to face, like across the table at coffee or something like that. They get to know each other shoulder to shoulder, getting to work together, spend time together doing something. So in the volunteer world, that's where it happens. You have your groups environment, which is amazing for building community, and you get to really see the depth there. But the camaraderie and the chemistry gets built, I think, often in a volunteer role, where you're getting up at 6:30 in the morning together, and you're unloading a trailer when you can't see outside because you're up before the sun. Like something like that, where you're going through stuff together, and you have shared experiences. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. Well, Zach, thanks for sharing. Let's talk to Jen for a minute here. Jen is our connections and local reach director. And so, Jen, let's talk about both of those things separately, because I know they're both two different worlds. And I mean, rock on to you for overseeing both just so well. So let's talk about the connection side. You oversee our entire guest experience on Sunday morning, from the parking lot to the greeters to the ushers to the connection point, first time guest tent, all the different teams within. I mean, that's a ton of people. So tell us about any like the highlight of your 2017 in the connections world.
Yeah, so in 2017, over the summer, several of us got together and just thought through, like, how do we make our experience on a Sunday morning better? We never want to just stay stagnant and just say, oh, we're doing it good enough. We always want to get better, and think through how can we serve our guests better. And so we thought through a lot of different ideas, tried out a lot of different things, and the team together did such an awesome job making things happen. And so even now, we always get surveys back from our first-time guests, and people are starting to remember volunteers by name, and so-and-so did such an amazing job welcoming me. All of my fears of coming to church were just alleviated as soon as I walked through the doors, because so-and-so, walked me through the building and showed me where to get coffee and showed me to my seat. Everything was just taken away and I was completely at ease, so that was just amazing. And so all of those changes really just brought the team together, and now we're just better than ever.
Yeah, it's when we see, every week we see responses from first-time guests. We see they write out a response to their experience, and it is so cool whenever I see a name of a volunteer on there, because that's telling me that not just was that volunteer like doing a role, but they were engaging with people. And that's, we talk about community volunteering and in our teams and everything. Like, it's not about like just having warm bodies fill a role. It's about like engaging people. That's what the mission is, like love God, love people, love life. And so it's the love people part of it is how our volunteer teams engage. And so it's so cool when I see the name of a guest services or connections team member on a response from a first-time guest, because I don't even remember half the names of people I know regularly. It's amazing to see that people respond like that. That's just really cool. So let's talk for a minute about Reach here in Charlottesville and our communities here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what Reach is, and then maybe the highlight of Reach for you this year?
Sure. So Local Reach is our outreach program to our community. And so every month, we started this back in August, and we are going to do a large service project every month for our people to get in on. So we are going to do things from, cleaning up a courtyard for an old lady's house, or going to nursing homes and visiting the elderly. We do all kinds of things. We also include serving our community, our Charlottesville city. We've done several things with the Parks and Rec office already, and so lots of things coming in 2018.
Yeah, that's really cool. So this year, we did several different like community outreach projects. You guys were trailblazing for the Parks Department, which I know we had a men's group go out and volunteer and build a bridge.
Yep.
And now I wasn't there, but I got to see a lot of great footage of this. And I even remember they were taking the lumber to the bridge location by canoe.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty awesome. You think about like serving the community, and there's a lot of ways you can do that. But when you're canoeing across a lake with lumber in tow to go build a bridge, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and what's awesome too is that we have such a large volunteer base, and so a lot of times what we hear from these partners is, we wanted to do this, but we just didn't have enough time or manpower to do it. But when you get 100 volunteers out from the point to go do something, man, things get done.
Yeah, that's awesome. So if someone wants to learn more about Reach opportunities, I know we do something every month. So we've been doing something every month for a good part of 2017. So 2018, they can find more information out how. What can they do?
Yeah, so they can do two things. Either go online at thepointva.com/reach, or they can come to the Reach table on Sunday mornings, and we'll be happy to talk with you.
Yeah, and so just so we can make this like super clear, Reach is a big part of what we do, and it's local through reaching communities. It's church planting through reaching cities in the U.S., and it's countries through our missions, which Amber talked about earlier. And so Reach is really a huge part of what we do. And so I know for international and for local stuff, it just plays such a huge role. So let's talk to Jesse for a minute. Jesse is our admin director. Jesse oversees a lot of the behind the scenes and administrative stuff. So Jesse, highlight of 2017.
I think that my biggest highlight for 2017, like everybody else said, there's so many, but on a Sunday morning we had a gentleman come in and he was in distress. We had a group of guys just gather around him and lay hands on him, pray for him, assist him through Sunday morning. And then not only did they help on Sunday morning, but they followed up with him Monday morning. They followed up with him Tuesday morning. By Tuesday afternoon, he was in a group. Like they lived out the love people and made sure that he was taken care of. And that just, I have goosebumps now talking about it. It really,
Yeah.
it played everything out. It was just amazing.
I appreciate how succinct you told that story, but I want to go back and just highlight a few things in here, because you said this guy came in and he was in distress. He came to the church and he just wasn't in a healthy place.
He was looking for help. He came in looking for answers and looking for someone to help him.
And so a team of men from our church connected with this guy. They took him and they prayed with him. And they pointed him in the direction of help. And then and when that guy left that day on Sunday, when he left the church, it wasn't like he just came, got something and left. What you're saying is those men, because they care, because again, we are about loving people, they followed up with this guy. They made sure he got the help he needed, and they got him connected in a men's group
Yes.
for him to walk through life with them. I mean, when you think about like the ramification of that process happening, and that didn't happen because we were like, oh yeah, you should go do this with this guy. That happened because these people, this group of men genuinely care.
Yes.
Like, what does that communicate?
So many things, but it's the gospel lived out. It's the discipleship lived out. It's just the love people part of everything that we are. It really represents a core of who we are as the Point.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's one of my favorite stories of the year too, just knowing, like hearing about that on Monday, that happened. And that, anytime someone comes into the church, I mean, it's a large group of people and comes in with some distress, it can go a lot of different ways. And to hear how that went, it was just so cool. Because as you said, it's the gospel lived out. Well, thank you all for sharing about your highlight of 2017. We're going to turn the ship in another direction now. And I want to talk about 2018 because, tomorrow is New Year's Day. And when we think about the new year, there's always resolutions that we're all going to break by like the second week, maybe if we last 2 weeks. Have any of you guys ever lasted more than like 30 days on a resolution? I tried to go without sugar one time. Like I was like, I'm not going to do sugar this year. I made it like 3 days. It was rough. Tim said it was longer than he made it. So the new year's coming, and we're thinking about what's next. Here at the Point, one of the things that we experience continually is just growth. Like we are so just blessed to be God's favor is so heavy that people just keep coming, and we experience growth all the time. And I remember years ago looking out over the church from the platform leading worship, and I remember when we had the black pipe and drape boxing in some of the seats at Monticello because, we didn't want people coming into a half-empty room, and there's a ton of seats in there. We're talking just 4 years ago, and now today, like, it's packed. And so we get to experience this great growth, and we get to see what the Lord is doing. A lot of that is happening through intentional planning and thinking about what is coming up next year. And so I want to ask you guys kind of two things as we talk through this next part. What is something exciting that's coming up in 2018 for you and your departments here? But also I want to find out, like, what do you do personally to prepare for the new year? I mean, it's a great time of year where we're all taking personal steps anyway. So what are some practical things that you do to help you prepare for the year? And since Jesse's got the microphone, we can start with Jesse. So the first question is there anything exciting coming up for you in the Point in 2018?
Yes.
Yes. Do you want to elaborate and tell us a little bit about it?
So 2018 is going to be packed full of growth. We are, like we said earlier, I'm the admin director, so I do a lot of the behind the scenes. So setup and tear down. We've got a growth plan of setting up some leaders and some coordinators and growing them in that role, but also helping them grow the teams and just setting everything up and taking everything down in an easier manner.
I'm glad you mentioned setup and tear down because that is that's a huge part of what we do. We transform Monticello High School into the Point every Sunday morning, and then we turn it back into Monticello High School every Sunday afternoon. And so if you are watching this morning and you're not volunteering and you're looking for a very maybe easy way to just get involved in volunteering, setup and tear down, you just got to show up and be willing to just work.
Yep.
And I know it takes a lot of people to pull it off every week. And so if that's an area where you just love to get connected, I'm sure that Jesse would love to connect you.
Absolutely.
And so you can just click contact on thepointva.com and we'll get you connected there. But so Jesse, what do you do personally? I mean, 2018's here tomorrow. What are you doing personally to prepare for the new year?
A lot of exciting things are happening in our family in 2018. My husband and I are leading a mission trip, and we fostered for our first time this past year. We're starting a foster support group, an adoption support group. We're also looking at what it looks like to adopt or foster another child. So there's just lots of fun, exciting things that are coming up. But I think right now is just a really big time of prayer for our family and looking at what that looks like for the next year.
Yeah. So all those things you just said, those are big deals.
Yes.
Like, so, like, I mean, you're talking about fostering and adopting and starting a group for foster families, and which is, by the way, that's just such an incredible ministry. And there's so many people and families at the point that are foster families or adoption. And then you talked about going on a missions trip. And so I like that you said, like, we're just praying.
Yes.
Like, so, like, what are you praying? Like, why? Like, why is prayer the right answer for all that?
I don't want to take a step in the wrong direction. And the way that I find out which direction I'm supposed to be going to is by having a relationship with God and leaning on Him and listening to Him. I want to help prepare my family for the best steps in 2018, and being obedient in prayer and listening for answers and taking the right steps is what I want to do. So the easiest way to do that is my quiet time and prayer.
That's awesome. Let me ask Zach the same question here. Let's start with what is something exciting coming up in 2018 here at the Point for you?
So in 2018, I think one of the focuses of what I'm going to do specifically, I guess that's how the question's asked, is what has Zach got going on in 2018 that's exciting? All right, what Zach has going on in 2018, one of the things that I'm looking forward to is I think 2018 is going to be a year of the individual and finding out an individual story. Hearing from people that are experiencing incredible life change as a result of all the stuff that we've been talking about here this morning, but hearing about it. Sometimes we kind of get swept up in the masses, like we talked about earlier. There's just so much going on. There's so many people involved. But I want to hear about what it is that's happening for the one and how is God radically changing their lives. Like even Caleb talked about with the student life ministry, there's so much going on in student life where they're learning about the foundations of their identity. Let's hear about that. Let's hear about people learning more about who God says that they are instead of who everyone else says. Because I've heard a pastor say, I can't afford to have a thought in my mind about me that God doesn't have about me. So
Zach, I love how you just drop these like wisdom nuggets.
There it is.
All the time.
I can't claim that as my own.
You guys rewind that and listen to that one again too. That was really good.
But I think that 2018 is going to be a year where there's a lot of big, exciting things happening, but the individuals are going to have the depth and the growth.
That's really good. And who better to tell the story than our creative arts pastor who puts the stories together? I mean, every story we've ever seen, this year has been put together by you. So I'm excited about what you're going to be helping us know about this year. It's really cool because I love hearing those stories too. I think we all do. I mean, that's what this is all about, is life change. So Zach, talk to us a little bit about what you do to personally prepare for a new year.
So in preparation, especially for this year, going into 2018, for me, it's really being serious and intentional about rest. It sounds crazy, but I overheard Pastor Gabe saying earlier this year he was feeling convicted about when it comes to time with his family or going on vacation or something like that, not going into it limping, which I thought was just a perfect image of how often we do that, where we vacation's coming up or a time away from the office, and I got to work myself as hard as I can and then collapse when I get home. And I think that our families, and I say this for the staff, but also for our volunteers and just the people at the church as a whole, your family deserves better than that. So I think that for me, I'm learning to take seriously the time that I'm away from work and invest as much of my effort there as well.
Yeah, I mean, rest is a spiritual discipline. Yeah. It doesn't come natural to us. It's almost like we just want to go from one thing to the next thing. And, as you just quoted Pastor Gabe, go into time off limping. But You mentioned this being more intentional about rest. Like, what practically does that look like? Because I know that the people watching this morning, man, they identify with that. I mean, we have a busy society. I mean, everybody that works hard and works full jobs, and they probably get stressed out with work, and they come home and they're exhausted, and then they go into the weekend, and it's like, you know, the old, like, you know, party on the weekend mentality, and then it's back again to the grind. Like, what does it practically look like to actually get good, godly rest?
Yeah, I think what that looks like is you have to work for it. It sounds weird working for rest, but
yeah, that sounds counterintuitive. But explain that for us.
I'll unpack that a little bit. What I mean by that is you have to be thinking about it before it's time to rest. If you fall into it, it's not the right way to do it. How you have to do it is make sure that you are in control of your time. It's not in control of you. You know,
man, these wisdom nuggets, you're just like throwing them out there,
Just knowing what it is that you have coming up on your schedule, what's going on, and how to do it effectively, be efficient in your time. And for me, one of the big things I've been learning this year, and I hope to keep learning next year, is what it means to trust other people with my time. Trusting them to do the work that I feel responsible for, and saying, like, I know that God has called you to this. You can handle it, and I can truly delegate that and trust that it's going to be okay, you know?
Mm-hmm. That's awesome, man. Well, thanks for sharing all that. Let me ask Amber, tell us about what is exciting for you in 2018. And then, again, the same question we're asking everybody today, like, what do you do to personally prepare?
Yeah, there's so many exciting things like breaking ground on a facility, our overseas trips. But I was thinking one of the things that I'm super excited about for this year is what we're calling focus groups. So we've had some of this before, but we're intentionally developing groups for people with specific needs or specific things they want to learn, such as financial peace, which we've been doing. So finances, we have a group starting point for people that are maybe not sure about what they believe or new believers and exploring their faith. So it's a comfortable, open place where they can have good, honest discussions. Jesse mentioned foster and adoption groups. We're going to start divorce care groups, some health and wellness groups. So I'm really excited to see how God's using that. In this last year, we had some marriage groups that were started, and I've seen the multiplication effect in just how many lives and marriages were changed. And I just anticipate from these other groups seeing God do so much. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, and I'll just throw this in there. Groups can change your life.
Yes.
I mean, they can change your life because these focus groups you're talking about they're pointed to things that people need, like divorce care, or foster adopt, but even just regular community groups, like having a group of people that you can walk through life with. I mean, there is life-changing power that happens in community and in groups. So why don't you share just a minute about like what compels someone to get involved in, say, one of these focus groups or just a group in general?
Yeah. Well, I think we all need people and we all need God. And the best way to grow closer to God is to do it with people. You know, there's a verse in the book of Hebrews that I love, and it talks about how we need to encourage each other today, day after day after day, as long as it's called today, which every day is today, right? So we always need encouragement in our walk with God. We're not designed to be alone. And groups are you being intentional with your time, like Zach was talking about, and you say, this is something that I know I need, so I'm going to build it into my schedule, and I'm going to commit to being with people so that I can grow together. And I think you'll find, if you haven't been in a group before, not only will you grow, but God's going to use you to help other people grow. Like, you have gifts that other people need to walk with God. So when you withhold from group, not only does it affect you and your personal walk, it affects other people who need to learn and grow with you and together.
Can I ask you one more question about groups while we're talking about it? And again, staff, sorry, I'm going to take Amber's time for a minute. So, like, let's say that I've never been to a group before, and you mentioned like starting point for people that aren't sure what they believe or are new to even like understanding like who God is. It seems like it might be intimidating or scary to come. Like, is it?
Well, I think it can be, especially if you have an introverted personality. Like, I know for me, even though I am involved in leading groups at the point, if I was going to one first time, I'd be intimidated, you know. But I think it's worth the effort. And I also know that we have a team of leaders who want to connect with you. So they will talk to you ahead of time. So if it helps, we can connect you on a Sunday morning so you can meet the person face to face. So you're not in some neighborhood that you've never been before, knocking on some door and hoping it's the right person. And then if they open the door, you still don't know if it's the right person.
That part right there, I feel like is so helpful.
Right.
So you're saying that if I've never been in a group before and I go to Connection Point on a Sunday and I say, I'm thinking about joining a group, I can meet the person that leads that group before I show up at their house.
Make the connection, so you can either meet on person on a Sunday, talk on the phone, connect through email some way. Some of the group leaders meet with coffee beforehand. So if that's something that you want and you're looking for, let us know and we want to help you. Also, I want to mention, if you haven't been to a group before and that seems like a really big step for you, one small step you could take is to attend Next, which we have every month. And that will tell you more about the Point in general, but also about groups, and it'll help you meet some people so you've got that network, and it's a good step forward for that.
The Next environment is awesome because you're sitting around with a lot of other people that are in the same position as you. You know, when you have 30 people in the room that are all new this month and you're all here having dinner together, you're probably going to walk out with some names. So that's really cool. So Amber, what do you do to personally prepare for a new year?
Yeah, so I think we've mentioned the word intentional a few times, but that's something that's been on my mind in preparing for 2018, and the word specific. Something I've learned about myself is I can be really good at being busy and really good at getting things done, but not really know what I'm aiming at, right? So you can be really productive, but not really efficient or going somewhere. And then I end up feeling discouraged or like depressed because I'm like, where's my life going? What am I doing? And I've really taken time to trace that back. And I think it really has to do with the fact that I'm not specific in what I'm aiming at. So it goes back to what Jesse was saying, listening to the Lord for his direction, but then being very intentional to move towards specifically what God's calling. And sometimes that means putting other things out of my life or slowing down and working towards something. There's a verse in the book of Joshua that I've been studying. Gosh, I read it all the time, and I've probably been reading it for like 2 years, the first chapter of Joshua. But verse 3 talks about how God's calling Joshua to take the land for the nation of Israel. And he says, every place where your foot will step, there you will inherit the land. And the thing that stands out to me in that is that Joshua was never going to see God work fully unless he started to take intentional steps towards what God was doing. So God isn't just going to open up all these doors for me and do everything if I sit back and am unintentional. So I have to move forward and be specific.
Wow, that's really good. Thanks for sharing that. Let's talk to Caleb for a minute. And Caleb, in students, I'm sure you've got incredible plans this year. So why don't you share a little bit about what 2018 looks like here at the Point for students or for your ministry here?
So we've got some awesome trips coming up as usual. We've got summer camp, episode, Scare Mare, those kinds of things. But we are actually going to be going to Nicaragua with a student team this year. Amber mentioned earlier that we're sort of taking Nicaragua.
So you're taking a group of teenagers.
There will be adults there as well.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah,
Not like
not just
I'm
me and a
thinking
bunch
like
of
Lord of the
teens.
Flies situation here in the
gosh.
jungle. So tell us about this trip.
Yeah, so not too long ago, I guess it was about a month ago, me, Amber, and another guy at the church, we all went down to Nicaragua to just sort of scope it out, sort of an exploratory mission trip. And I was amazed. The ministry down there, just the leaders down there, the way God is moving down there is insane. It's unlike anything I've seen before. Nicaragua is the poorest Latin American country, but God is moving in crazy ways, especially with the children there. And it's crazy to see that like the next generation that's going to be stepping up could be the change that Nicaragua needs. And so being able to experience that and see that firsthand is awesome. And I'm so excited to take students there.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I remember when I went on my first mission trip, I was actually in college and we went to Haiti, and that was a defining moment for my life because I had never seen anything like that. And if anything has impacted me in my 20s, it was probably that first trip. I went back several times, but like that first trip, I remember even the smallest things, like the way it smelled. And like even like today, that triggers those memories. So whenever you were there, what potential life change do you see for our students that are going?
I think that our students where they are now are similar to your position. They haven't seen anything like this. They haven't seen poverty to the level of this. But beyond that, like I think for me personally, I think this will happen for the students as well. Going there and realizing that God is so much bigger than we think he is, so much larger, so much more powerful than we think he is.
Because sometimes it takes getting out of your
Absolutely.
box to even realize that.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing for me, and I think it'll be for the students as well, is going down and seeing, man, like our world is in shambles. There's so many bad things happening, but God is moving and working everywhere. Like I don't take time out of my day to think about what the average life of a Nicaraguan is, right? Like I don't catch myself in my office thinking, oh, I wonder what, Joe in Nicaragua is doing, but God does.
Do you think his name is Joe?
I don't know about that. Sorry, Jose.
Okay, there we go.
I don't think about that, but God knows the inner workings of every person's life, and he is moving and working in just a intentional, as Amber said, and purposeful way. And it's so cool to be able to just catch a small glimpse of that outside of my
Yeah.
world.
Man, that's awesome. When are you guys going?
We are going in July.
Okay, awesome.
2018, yep.
So is it too late for anyone to sign up?
Nope, no.
So what do I do if I'm interested, I'm a student, I'm interested in going, or I'm a parent who wants to get information? Like, what do I do to get that information?
Yeah, so we are actually having a parent meeting, short plug here, parent meeting on January 7th. It's going to be from 2 to 4 p.m. here at the Point office. That's where we'll really roll out a bunch of information there. But we've also, the application's online.
They can find it at thepointva.com.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
awesome.
yep.
So they click on the student life link. Will it be there, or is it under
Reach
reach?
countries, yep.
Perfect.
Countries.
So yeah, the site Amber mentioned earlier, and we'll put that on the screen for you right now. You'll be able to see that.
Yeah.
So they go there, they get application. Do the parents need to register for that meeting on January the 7th, or they just show up?
As of right now, I think we're still working that out.
Okay,
but,
cool. That's all right.
Yeah, it'll be coming.
Awesome.
You'll see it.
Well, that's exciting, man.
Yeah.
The fact that you're taking a group of teenagers to see that is going to change their life.
Absolutely.
So, Caleb, what do you do personally to prepare for a new year?
So coming up in 2018, we are rolling out in student life just a year-long discussion on discipleship. I am more than excited about it. And honestly, it's caused just personal questions in me. When I think about being a disciple and I think about being a true follower of Jesus, I have to ask myself questions like, are there areas where I haven't surrendered to Jesus? Is there something that I'm holding back? Are there, habits in my life that aren't reflective of what, is in the life of a disciple? And so I'm sort of diving into scripture, reading and praying. Prayer is going to be a huge focus of mine, I think, for 2018. To just, if I can't expect to lead a group of students through something if I haven't gone through it myself. And so, yeah.
So your year is going to be really focused on like growing yourself to be able to grow others.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, that's
Being
really
a disciple
good.
who makes disciples.
That sounds like something that's just like straight out of the Bible.
It might be in there somewhere.
That principle is just straight out of the scriptures.
I think it's in there somewhere.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, again, Caleb, you're just doing such an incredible job with our students, and I know we're so excited for what 2018 is going to bring. So, Jen, let's talk about your world for a minute. What is happening in 2018? Now, you mentioned Reach a little earlier about things that are coming up, but tell us a little more about like what does Jen have going on in 2018?
Oh, I've got a lot going on. No, all exciting things, very good things. In the Reach world, we have a monthly event every month, and so there's always going to be a new project that we're going and spearheading. So that's always going to be new and exciting. And then also, every week I meet new guests on a week-to-week basis, and there's always next available for all of the new guests, trying to find out more information. But one thing that we are adding that I'm really excited about starting is what we're going to call View, which is a volunteer orientation. And so we're going to take volunteer shadows to a whole new level. And so if you're interested in volunteering anywhere at the church, you are able to come to View, which gives you a whole overview of what we do. And who we
like
are.
a behind the scenes look at everything that's happening on our volunteer teams.
Yep. So you get on a Sunday morning, you'll hear about our culture, who we are, who we truly are, and what we do. And then also, you'll get a view of everything that happens on a Sunday morning, and also a recap of what happens during the week and all the different areas that you could serve in.
So this is something that we're doing every month, and that if someone's interested in volunteering but may not really know, like, the different places they can serve, they can come to View and learn about who we are, and then get a tour of what's happening that Sunday in all the different departments, and see what it looks like to volunteer. I mean, that's pretty cool. So I know you're excited about that. So let's talk personally for a minute. Like, what are you doing personally to get ready for 2018?
Yeah, so very similar to some other people on staff. I'm really going to be thinking a lot about and like praying over rest and what that looks like. And for anybody that knows me, I'm very much a planner. I'm very organized and I like to plan far in advance.
Now, did I see a 2019 calendar in your office?
Yes.
2019.
Yes.
2018 is not even here yet.
Yep.
And you've got 2019.
I know.
So anyway, continue.
Yes, so 2019 calendar. Yes, I like to plan ahead, but sometimes, and I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way. It's just so easy to get ahead, or sometimes, but it's so easy to, plan and always be thinking about what's next. And even like seasons in life, what you're going through right now, you're always looking at your next season and wanting the next season. But I really want to try and focus on slowing down and not missing the moments that are right in front of me, taking the time to rest and enjoy where God has me right now.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I think that's something that all of us can definitely take away. And I know you at home watching this morning as well, to just not miss the moment. Because once that moment passes, it's gone. And so, yeah, there's so much value in slowing down and being where you are in the moment. So thanks for sharing that. We're going to talk to Tim next. And I'm going to try to not ask you 100 questions this time.
It's okay if you do.
Okay, cool. Well, everybody can just, relax for a little bit, and you and I, we can talk for a little bit. Tim, 2018, what is going on with Kids Point in your ministry here?
Yeah, so we're super excited, obviously, along with everybody here on the stage. We're all excited about next year. And for Kids Point especially, I think a couple things that I'm most excited about are some of the large group environments that you'll see on a Sunday morning. We're going to continue kind of expanding on some of that and kind of elaborating a little bit more about what we do in a large group setting, continuing to build the team a little bit. Another thing we're focusing on in 2018 is going to be the family entrance kind of welcome experience. As we grow larger, just kind of continuing to explore ways and be innovative in how we engage everybody who comes through our doors on a Sunday morning. And so we're going to be building the team a little bit and continuing to improve the welcome experience, the registration experience. Every parent that comes to Kids Point goes to the welcome table. There's a registration process where the child will check in, get their sticker, and the parents get a matching sticker as well. So we're constantly just asking ourselves, how can we get better? How can we continue to improve? How can we continue to establish kind of some consistency throughout the year? And so we're looking at a couple different ways that we can continue to improve those areas, and I'm super pumped about it.
Yeah, one thing I hear everyone talking about is like growth and opportunity. And so like I think about like right now we have well over 200 volunteers every Sunday making what people see, whether it's in the room or online, making that happen, right? But what I'm hearing as we're talking about growth and new things, it sounds like there's a lot more opportunity for people to serve. I mean, even in Kids Point alone, you're providing even all these new opportunities to connect people. So, and because that's across the board, what I'm getting at here is that, like, if you're watching this morning and you're able to attend the point, because we know many of you are watching from all over the country and the world. But if you're local here and you are not serving somewhere, there is opportunity for you to get involved. And as we talked about, into finding community and finding a way to serve the Lord practically, shoulder to shoulder with your hands. This is your year to do it if you're not involved. And so to find out more information on volunteering, it's super easy. Just go to thepointva.com and scroll down. You're going to see a little thing that says like volunteering. Click on that, or if that's not there because we change things up, if you might be watching this after we make web changes or anything, you'll find it. Just look around. It's there. So click the menu, scroll. I mean, it's there. So get connected in volunteering. Come check out View. Jen mentioned briefly when she was talking about this, she said we're taking volunteer shadowing to a new level. Shadowing is what we call when someone comes and just observes without having to do anything or commit, just observes. And so you can shadow on a Sunday and see what we do. And there's a profile you can fill out. We're going to help you figure out like where God's calling you to. And let me just be clear on this, like volunteering, it's not what we want from you, it's what God wants for you. And so we want to plug you into that community and get your hands on the ministry. And so don't take that for granted. All right, I'm off my soapbox now. I would say I dropped my mic, but I don't want to drop this nice mic. So Tim, back to you here. What are you doing personally to prepare for 2018?
Yeah, so right now I'm reading through the book of Luke, just in my personal time. And as I'm looking at the book of Luke, anytime I'm reading scripture, obviously I'm looking for, the application and, where I find myself, how does that relate to the things that I'm experiencing and going through? And so as we experience this growth and as we continue to see more and more families at the point, and as we continue to grow, I'm looking at the life of Jesus. And if you look at the life of Jesus, especially in the book of Luke, but all throughout the Gospels and all throughout Scripture, you see just how personal he was. Everything that Jesus did was personal. He called Zacchaeus by name. He invited the disciples into his circle by name. The woman at the well, like calling out like everything that she's going through. So like there's just a lot of specifics that show and illustrate how much Jesus cares, how much he loves, kind of like what you were saying earlier. And so as I look at the life of Jesus, I'm asking myself, how can I increase that personal connection, that relationship that I have with the people that we see at the point, the volunteers, the leaders, the families, the kids, the students. And so I'm thinking about the, over 200 kids and students that we're seeing on a Sunday morning now. And as we grow, as we, see more of these families, how can we increase that personal connection? How can we strengthen the relationships that we already have? How can we, get them even stronger? How can we continue to streamline the way that we show the love of Jesus to everybody that we encounter? And so I'm looking at things on a Sunday morning. I'm just continuing to explore just different ways and pray through different ways that we can strengthen that.
Yeah, and personal connection. Again, it's that one-to-one. The gospel is about people, and the church is about people. And I mean, we talk about growth and we talk about numbers and those things, but every single number when we talk about growth represents a person or a family or a life that God is doing something in. I mean, God's working in every single life, and so those individuals, I mean, they matter to God, and therefore they have to matter to us, because that's what we're called to do. And so, Tim, I think it's awesome that when you talk about like looking at the way Jesus did ministry through personal relationships and personal connections, that we model that as well. That's really cool. So I love that about Kids Point and our family ministry and just Next Gen ministry overall. I mean, we hear that in our students. We even hear that in our adults and in everything. So, man, what an incredible year is ahead of us. Tomorrow kicks off 2018, and it's going to be, I believe, our best year yet. And in 2017 has come to a close, and this video is about to come to a close as well. We had an amazing year at the Point, and we had an amazing year because of you. Because you are being so faithful in your service, in your volunteering, in your connectivity and involvement, faithful in your giving. We mentioned our future home earlier. This was a year where God opened up the doors of our future home. Not physical doors, because we're going to build them, but we found the place where God was going to put the Point permanently this year. We've had so much just people outpouring generosity above and beyond their regular tithes to our future home. I mean, just to see even like the sacrifice people have made this year to secure our future home is incredible. And so we just can't thank you enough for your ongoing generosity. And again, if you're watching this and you don't know who we are, or maybe your friends shared this video on Facebook or whatever, you can learn all about us at thepointva.com. You can get connected to volunteering through that website. You can get connected to groups. You can give. Everything is right there, packaged up nice and neat for you. And I would also encourage you, this was an incredible year for Pastor Gabe, too, and his messages. I mean, like, I've been here for years, and I know, it's like I mentioned about Zach, he's been here since year one. Man, like, the messages this year were just, like, so pointed. And Charlottesville kind of had a rough year. And I love how Pastor Gabe spoke into just even into the year that we had here. And so you can watch all the messages. You can watch all of the worship all right on the website, or you can download our app from your app store, whether you have Android or iOS, and just relive our favorite moments from the year or messages that may have touched your life. Everything's neatly packaged up thanks to Pastor Zach. So you can see it all right there on the website or in the app. And so again, we celebrate you, whether you're here locally or you're part of our family from the other side of the world. We know that there are people watching every week from all over the country and all over the world, and we just want to celebrate you and thank you for making the point what it is this year. So we're looking forward to a great year in 2018. We hope you are too. We hope your family has a great start to the new year tomorrow, and that you just have an incredible year ahead of you, a year full of God's favor. The Point will be back at Monticello High School next Sunday, 9:30 and 11. We'll be online for those that aren't regional and local. And look, we look at the analytics and we know who's watching. And we see a lot of y'all watching here locally, but you're not coming on Sundays. And so maybe it's time to hop in the car and come to Monticello High School. And so we hope to see you as we kick off the new year next Sunday, 9:30 to 11 at Monticello High School. So from the staff to you, Happy New Year, and we'll see you next week.